So it's been a while since I've shared a technique on the channel, and I've decided to show you how to do something working with the Olympic spirits. And specifically how to create and use and deploy a Olympic spirit powder, or what is sometimes in Hoodoo referred to as a sachet powder. And sachet powders, both within traditional African American Conjure and within African folk magic generally, or the magic of the diaspora, and of course in Africa itself, powders function by means of contagion. So typically when you're using a powder, it is to influence another person either favorably or unfavorably, often to harm. It is also used in love magic, anything where you are really wanting to influence another person's behavior and have them do something for you or have something happen to them. And this is one of the reasons why African magic in general and folk magic in particular is so powerful at affecting other people, whether in a good way or a bad way, is that magics of the diaspora and folk magicians really understand magical contagion, or simply put, the power that functions through touching a material, coming into contact with something in order to influence your desired person. Western magicians and people in the West tend to think mostly in terms of remote influence. African magicians and magicians of the diaspora and folk magicians take the idea that a substance should touch the other person a lot more seriously, and they go to greater lengths to make sure that a person comes into contact with something. And to that end, powders are extremely powerful and potent for this reason, because a well-made sachet powder, a well-made magical powder is something that you can very subtly blow onto someone or onto something. So this means you blow it onto their car, onto their front door, into their pathway, somewhere where they will walk. Sprinkle it in their shoes. It will be on the office chair. Anything of that sort where the person comes into contact with that person will be influenced by this powder, provided of course the powder itself is prepared in a powerful way. And this is what I'm going to teach you in this video, how to make a powder really potent by invoking one of the Olympic spirits in conjunction with this technique. The Olympic spirits, of course, is a big subject. I'm not going to go into it. If you do a little bit of research, you will find enough about them, but briefly, these are planetary spirits that have a more earthy, practical flavor to them. So when you work with these spirits, they're quick to work and they're a bit closer to the material plane. And their sigils are relatively easy to draw. This is important for this technique, as you'll see soon enough. The spirit that I've opted to show you today, or the example that I'll be using, is working with Bethor, the Olympic spirit of Jupiter. And for this example, I want you to consider that this powder is being prepared to influence someone in business, say. So this would be a good powder to use on, let's say, meeting the bank manager to apply for a loan, or if you're trying to get a new job or contract or something like business deal where you will be coming into contact with this person whom you want to have be influenced to favor you financially, right? Because Jupiter, of course, makes powerful people friendly and congenial towards whomever works with that planetary force. The example serves just as an example for this particular instance of doing work to influence someone financially. Of course, if you were to work with the Olympic spirit of Venus, Hagith, for example, you might create a love powder or a seduction powder, which you would then blow onto a target or their let's say their clothes or their jacket or something, in order to seduce and attract that person. Alternatively, you work with the spirit of, let's say, Mars. You might use the powder in a malefic way to, you know, to curse them or something like that, which I never recommend. It's not my ethics. But this is indeed a classic way of using powders. Is you know, it's for hexing, cursing, and crossing, and this kinds of things. So that would be very much within the ambit of a powder like this. So firstly and most importantly, we have our powder, and there are two ways to go here. You can use a traditional hoodoo sachet powder that is suited to the condition or the effect, the magical goal that you have, right? So, you know, for instance, if it's to influence money to someone to give you a loan quickly, or to finance something quickly, or to get a payment quickly, then a fast luck powder might be suitable, or something of that sort, attraction powder, something like that. And then alternatively, and what I actually suggest for this, is to make your own custom Olympick spirit powder. And that would be using sort of the traditional hoodoo basis, which is talc, and then also some arrowroot, to which you then add a few drops of essential oil that is correspondent to the planet in question, which in this case would be Jupiter. The reason you do that is because talcum powder is not particularly absorbent, it's a mineral, but arrowroot, which is a confectionery ingredient and a very fine powder, does absorb fragrances and mixes in very nicely into the powder, and it stays very fine still. So you can get that astrological correspondence in there, and then you still have a very fine powder that is suitable for blowing, sprinkling, and deploying in a discreet way that it isn't too conspicuous. But as I was saying, if you're lazy, you can just use a traditional hoodoo powder that is matched to your goal. Now, in addition to that, you will need a vigil 7-day candle, and in this case, because we're working with this Olympic spirit Bethor, who is the spirit of Jupiter, we will go with a blue candle. And on this 7-day candle, you will paint the sigil, Bethor sigil, in white. Very simple. It shouldn't be too difficult for most people. The Olympic spirit sigils are very straightforward to draw. Then you will also need your petition paper and your petition. And in this case, the Olympic spirit Bethor sigil in the center, and I like to draw the pentacle of Solomon or the Star of David around that, and I add little crosses as is customary in the grimoire tradition. Sometimes you see that in Heptameron. I like that because my magic is Christocentric. And then on the back you will write your petition nicely, whatever that may be. And then when you're ready with that, you will anoint your petition paper with some condition oil. And some good condition oils to use would be something like King Solomon oil, Moses oil, or let's say it's a financial goal, then it might be fast luck oil might be suitable. Or you can go for a planetary oil or holy anointing oil, something of that sort, to correspond with the spirit. Whatever the case may be, you will dress your petition paper. I like to do it quincunx. This is traditional in Conjure. Quincunx means 5 dots, 1 in each corner. And then because we're drawing an influence towards us, I will fold the petition paper towards myself, like so. And I like to fold it up like that, and then like so, and then it goes under the candle. Then you want to fix your candle as well. You would add some appropriate condition oil in there, a few drops, it clockwise because I'm drawing something towards me. And you can also add a small pinch of your powder to it, yeah? And then your visual light will have been prepared. We're going to be drawing Bethor Sigil. I take a spoon like this and I just tap it. And we can tidy it up a little bit later. But I find this is the easiest way of doing it. I suggest starting with the big shapes. So then it's easier to add the details to those big shapes. There we go. So we've got the basic shape there. We can just tidy it up a little bit, not too much, otherwise you're going to smear it. You need a dish, a candle dish or a little saucer or something to place under it, because if you're burning it on a table, obviously once the vigil reaches the bottom, this glass casing is going to heat up and it will burn the table and it's a fire risk. So you want something there underneath it to protect it. You're going to place the Bethor candle on top of this sigil, so do it carefully not to disturb the sigil. You're ready to begin to work. Of course, you're going to also need a censer, a charcoal disc, fireproof tongs for handling the charcoal. This is important because once that charcoal is lit, it goes, sometimes, you know, it falls out of the dish and that, and you need something to be able to maneuver that and control it. You will also need some Jupiterian incense. I've opted for copal. Light that charcoal disc, and then when you're ready and everything is nice and checked out, you've got everything sorted, you're going to light your visual light. You're going to add some incense to the charcoal disc. I've not lit it because I'm not going to invoke the spirit. Put that on the charcoal disc, and then once the incense starts rising, you'll say a brief invocation to Bethor. And having said the invocation to Bethor, you're going to offer him the light and the candle, and you're going to ask, you make your petition, yeah, into the candle, whatever it is that this powder is meant to accomplish, whomever it is meant to affect, because of course we're using powders to influence people usually through the power of contagion. And so this you will include in a detailed way in your petition. Then you will take your censer very carefully, not to spill it, and then take that smoke, and I want you to smoke all around it and waft the smoke so that it hits the candle and covers, it gets onto the powder also. Then you're ready. You will leave the candle to burn down for 7 days. So naturally you want to do this where this can remain undisturbed for 7 days so that the powder doesn't get blown away or bumped or something like that. So you'll want a workroom that is quiet and secluded. And then after 7 days, once the candle has finished burning, you're going to move your empty glass candle away, and then you will be collecting all the powder again, right? Because now we've really ensorcelled this powder. It's been conjured. A good idea is to use your petition paper as a little packet and then scoop it up, right? So you've got a nice little packet of powder, right? And then you can fold it up nicely, and then it's ready to be deployed. We collect the powder back up again, we scoop it back into a packet, and then this powder is deployed somewhere near the target or somewhere where the target will come into contact with it. So for example, if you're meeting your bank manager to apply for a mortgage, then you might get a tiny amount of that powder on your hands, so that when you shake the bank manager's hand, that they will touch that powder. Or you will dress the application forms with a minute amount of that powder, blow it onto the application form, and then take the powder off again. You just need a tiny particle of that powder to come into contact with them. Alternatively, blow it onto their car, onto their office chair, whatever is convenient and subtle. You don't need a mountain of powder on to hit them. A microscopic amount, a few particles is enough, so long as it comes into contact with them. So subtlety is the secret here, because of course suspicious powders, white powders, could get you into trouble. So you need to be cautious with how you use this. But if you're clever and subtle, it's straightforward enough to do, although it requires some effort, and this is why it works. This is why it's more powerful, and this is why folk magicians and magicians of the diaspora tend to be more effective at influencing other people magically. And then of course, included at the bottom of this video, as always, there's a link to a PDF bundle in which I include the formula and some extra stuff about how to create these powders, the invocations for the different Olympic spirits, their sigils, planetary correspondences, what kind of herbal correspondences to use, and so on, so that it's a tidy little document that you can use. If you've used any of my other PDFs, it's very much in the same vein, so that you can use this technique in the same way. And then why would you do this? Why use this technique and not just a powder by itself? You could of course just use a conditioned powder or hoodoo patch powder by itself, and you will get some success. Why not? But what is particular about this is that we're invoking and petitioning the spirit while we are ensorceling that powder. And so we're directing that spirit at the same time, and then we're combining this petition to this Olympic spirit with the effect of this magical contagion through the power. So we're adding another dimension to what is really just petitioning the spirit. And that, of course, makes it a lot more potent. Remember to like, to subscribe. You can buy me a coffee down at the bottom. My services are linked down at the bottom as well, if you want to come for a reading or consultation, if you want to get some magical work done. I also have a candle ministry where we do candle work and magical work, visual lighting service for clients. Check out my new book, The Divine Gypsy Mother, published by Scarlet Imprint, and join my Discord. I have a very nice little Discord with great people on there, discussing folk magic, divination, mediumship, spiritism, all these kinds of stuff. That if you like my whole shtick, you might enjoy my Discord. And yeah, thanks for watching.